the meeting of the Ordinance Review Committee to order for May 6, 2015. I'll call the roll. Joseph Boncory, Chair, is present. Heather Eggman, Vice Chair.
Here.
Karen Chavez.
Here.
Jason Deeb. Here. Michael Power.
Here.
Tom Riley.
Yes.
David Stazio.
Yeah.
Paul Verone.
Here.
Kyle Vitale.
Here.
Quorum has been met. We'll take the business of the Ordinance Review Committee. I'd like to welcome you all here tonight. We're here for our public forum of the Ordinance Review Committee. The committee has met once previously by the charter. We're to have at least one public forum. The committee's discussed this, and we're open to having more than one, as willing as the townspeople are to come out and support and bring things before the committee. So I want to thank those of you who are here for being here. At this time, I'm just going to introduce the committee to the public. On my far right, your left, David Stazio, who's an attorney in Winthrop. He's a lifelong resident of the town and a member of the town's planning board. He's an associate professor at the North Shore Community College. To his left is Tom Riley. You all probably know Tom Riley. He's been a long time active in this town. He's a town meeting member of the planning board, the Board of Selectmen, the Charter Commission, and was the first council president of the town of Winthrop. He's also currently the council president's designee to the MWRA Advisory Board. Next to him is Karen Chavez, who's a lifelong resident of Winthrop, a retired nurse who worked at Winthrop Hospital for 28 years. She's currently a member of the town's advisory committee, or was for 14 years, and now, since 2006, has been a member of the Citizens Finance Advisory Committee and Finance Commission. She's also a member of the SBAC for the new middle school high school project. Next to her, we have Paul Verone, a previous member of the Ordinance Review Committee, and has served the town in the capacity of town council from Precinct 1 since 2010. Next to Paul is Jason Deeb, who's a lifelong resident of Winthrop. He's a loan officer at MSA Mortgage, and this is the first public service he's done, the first 47 in the town. To my left is Heather Eggman. She's an attorney at the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, where she provides legal advice pertaining to public health policy, compliance with state and federal laws, and regulations, licensures, enforcement actions, and administrative law. Heather also serves the town of Winthrop's Board of Health and is on the board of directors for the Massachusetts Women's Bar Association. Next to her is Michael Power, who's an attorney with the Kaplan Division of the Washington Post, where he works on matters of educational policy and corporate compliance. Michael has lived in Winthrop for 10 years with his wife, and they have a son. And he also serves on the Winthrop Board of Appeals, and was also a previous member of this committee when it convened in 2005. Right?
Yeah, both.
10 and 2000.
Yeah, both.
All right.
5 years. Lots of right.
Next to Michael is Kyle Vitale, who's a certified municipal clerk and has served the town of Winthrop in the capacity of town clerk since 2007. And to her left is our town council from the Office of Compliment and Page, Elizabeth Lane, Attorney Elizabeth Lane. Thank you for being here. We have some correspondence for this public forum that I'll read into the record. The first correspondence is from Norman Hyatt. Dear Ordinance Review Committee, I will not be able to attend the meeting this next week, but here is my suggestion. There should be term limits for council members. Some have been on since the new format was voted in. I suggest 2 term limits with a third if a member becomes council chair. Norman Hyatt, and he leaves a phone number that will be in the record. The second matter of correspondence is from Gus Martucci, Ordinance Review Committee. I am sending this to you with changes I proposed during the last review 5 years ago. And I feel very strongly that these changes need to be made in order for our town to move forward. Number 1, reduce the number of councilors from 9 to 5. Right now we have 6 precinct councilors, 2 at large, and 1 president. I would like to see a president and 4 at large councilors. This is a very small town. Everyone knows everyone in all precincts. And most people know or are friendly with the precinct councilor that is not even their precinct rep. Because we're such a small community, I think 4 large councils and a council president will be more effective. The other reason is that the same people run for the same seats. Currently, there are 5 councilors that have been on there since the council's inception, mainly because no one runs for the seats and they run unopposed. This creates an unhealthy election process. We need more people to run and less seats to put them in, which brings me to the second part of the change. I have always been against paying our elected officials. This is a small knit community, and I think that volunteer elected officials have worked here since the town's inception. However, times have changed, and we all need to change with that. People need to work long hours to support themselves and or their families. Our council is putting countless hours, and at this time I would consider the councilor's position to be somewhat of a part-time job and would require countless hours. And at this time I would consider council's position to be somewhat of a part-time job and would require a part-time stipend. I would like to make a stipend appealing in order to attract more people to run for these seats and maybe substitute it for a part-time job that someone may need $10,000 annually for all 5 councilors, including the council president. Because we would be paying a decent stipend, we could hold these elected officials a little more accountable for their time. I also think we need a recall policy. You would not be able to miss more than 3 meetings a year without an excused absence, and you would need to make as many subcommittee meetings and town events as possible. Mr. Martucci's second recommendation is to lower the number of school committee members from 7 to 5 and pay them a stipend of $10,000 annually for all the same reasons as above. No council president on the school committee. It's just too much for one person to handle, too many meetings, and he or she cannot vote on the budget and or the employment contracts because he sits or she sits on the appropriating body of the town council. I think the link provided by the town president sitting on the school committee has been very beneficial, but too much to ask of one person. I think the town council should have a new agenda item, and in parentheses it says superintendent's report. Let the superintendent go to the council meetings and report to them. This should keep them in communication, the communication alive between the council and the school committee. If anyone has any questions, feel free to call me and possibly discuss. Thank you, Gus Martucci. The third matter of correspondence is from our town manager, James McKenna. Although I'm not able to attend your meeting this evening, I submit the following topics for further consideration and possible amendment to the charter ordinance. And just before we go any further, Dave Stacey has been nice enough to volunteer to take the minutes. Dave, these are going to be a part of the meeting minutes as an addendum, so don't feel like you're going to get every word. First, charter change requests. Number 1, emergency declarations. Our charter has limited language in respect to the council president being able to effectively declare a state of emergency in circumstances that are warranted, and where in particular, where the open meeting law obligations cannot be met, i.e. 48-hour posting where an emergency is needed. I would suggest strengthening the authority under the president to be able to declare emergencies to improve our community's response to these situations when they happen, and that such authority be clear in such a charter. Number 2, on the charter request, he suggests publication requirements. Since print news is no longer the only source of record, the way the public obtains information about town matters, I would like to have an e-based replacement for this requirement, such on our town website or Facebook, that satisfies the public requirements of proposed ordinance or loan authorizations. The town manager also suggests some ordinance change and request. The first ordinance change that he submits is an extension of construction hours. Option to extend the hours of construction for projects in the town with the approval of the town manager. The town manager would seek input from public safety officials prior to the issuance of modified hours of labor. His next suggestion falls under municipal lots. He suggests 2-hour parking exemptions for George Street and old DPW parking lots for town/school employees. his next suggestion, under public ways, which is in section 10, delete all reference to enforcement on public ways because police cannot enforce due to no legal authority. And his last suggestion is snow clearance and handicap clearance. The width of clearance and handicap clearance during snowstorms needs to be clarified, and this could be taken up by TSEC. The next and last correspondence we've received since our last meeting is from the Superintendent of Schools, John J. Massero, dated May 6, 2015. Dear members of the Ordinance Review Committee, I would like to see a change in the current charter to reduce the school committee board from 7 members back to 5 members. Respectfully, John J. Massero, Superintendent of Schools. So those are the correspondence that were received. Just as a point of reference for tonight's meeting, we're here for a public forum, as we already discussed. If anyone has a writing they want to submit along with their comments, you can pass them on to Mr. Stasio, who's at the end of the desk. I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight. Specifically, I want to thank WCAT for covering this. I wanted to thank Janella Woodcock for being here covering with the Winthrop transcript. On behalf of the committee, again, we want to thank Peter Gill for this appointment. Thank you. And the Robert DeLeo Senior Center and Nancy Williams for making sure we had a place to have this meeting, as well as Marty Larry, who's in the back, who's at a moment's notice always willing to help out and open the door. As most of you know, the town charter that was cauterized, I guess, in 2005.
A suggestion.
Under the town charter, under section 9.6, calls for a periodic review of the town charters and all the town's ordinances. The town council president, with approval of the town council, is to appoint 9 members whom you see before us to consider these rules. That committee is to have public forums to solicit input from the town, and that's what we're doing here tonight. So for the people here and the people watching at home, we are taking suggestions always. It's a revolving door. Beyond these town forums, all our meetings are public meetings. They will be posted. This committee plans on meeting on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of each and every month until we're completed our work next month. So all those meetings are public meetings. If anyone has a suggestion as to charter changes or ordinance changes, they can submit them to the committee through our website, which is up and running now, and it's Ordinance Review Committee at town.winthrop.ma.us. That's the website. That website's also accessible through the Town of Winthrop's website under Boards and Committees. The Ordinance Review Committee is listed there, and there is a link that you can click to email the entire board. Beyond that, at this time, we can start accepting any public comment. Just so everyone knows, that this board will consider, in the first half of its meeting, changes to the town charter. Our hope is that we'll be able to get them completed in a report to the town council by the end of August. And that will give enough time for the town council to approve or not approve our recommendations, and that'll give the town clerk enough time to make what approvals she can and put them on the ballot for November. So after August, the board will begin to accept and entertain and discuss revisions to the town ordinances. That's not to say that tonight you can't make any recommendations or submit any recommendations on the town ordinances. The committee will always accept recommendations on any changes that the town at large wants to make. So without further ado, I ask that if you're going to make a public comment, that you limit it to 3 minutes. And before you start speaking, just state your name and precinct or address. 3 minutes. Anyone you want to? Great. So again, just state your name and if you stand before you talk. Yeah, if you don't mind.
Nervous because I'm not really good at this public speaking business. So line was good as day, but I'm not going to.
You can just stand right back
I
there.
wouldn't have to say it in 3 minutes. I'll make it kind of quickly as I can. We do have a code of ordinances for the town of Winthrop.
Just your name,
Patricia Kelly.
Patricia Kelly.
Okay, we have a code of ordinances for the town of Winthrop, is that true?
Yes, we have a town code
We have a town code.
that has ordinances.
Do people all uphold that town code? Is it upheld?
Do the people here?
In other words, you have a town code written on the website.
Yes.
Do you agree with, it's written under the town code?
I mean, everyone on this board took an oath to uphold
Okay,
the town
well,
code.
according to some other people in Winthrop, these town codes don't mean anything.
Okay.
I live in a private way, as she does. Otis and Pratt. Originally, I went last summer to try to get them not to park on the seawall, because you know what's going to happen when they can't go to Winthrop Beach. But that's not the big point. I've had 3 deaths in my house when the ambulance couldn't get up my street. She's had 1, and they couldn't get up. Her husband died. Running door to door, trying to move cars. People parking diagonally, the police tell you they can't do anything. Capital Waste won't come by my house because they can't get around the corner. The fire department made a sweep every month or 2, then all of a sudden, Lanigan tells us that they're not supposed to go up there. Well, how do we get a fire put out? The point is right here, nobody is supposed to block for more than 1 hour. You got a private way. Call Delahanty and ask him what he thinks. Because this firm here, this young lady, supposedly that firm is supposed to make a ruling.
Yes, if you could
And-
just address all comments.
Well, I'm
that she
trying
has.
to, but I don't know if she knows who I am because
Right.
I never got an answer.
I understand, just the process is you address the chair of the committee, and then if we have an answer.
All right, so I'll make it real quick.
Yeah.
You either
Take
uphold
your
this or
time.
you don't. If you don't, you need to change it. That's it. If you read through it, you'll see what it says, and then you can talk to the chief. I'm trying to talk, look at everybody. That's my whole position.
And what section of this? code
This
is
is
that?
violation code. It says right here, private road, you're not supposed to block it or leave it more than 1 hour without the written permission of the chief of police. You're not supposed to park at any private road, we don't even have parking out there, there's no place to park. This lady here couldn't park in front of her house all winter because of the snowstorm, because the lady down the street parked there. And the police tell me, what do they do? Can't do nothing.
Can't do anything, there's no there, across the street. they
We're just
don't-
gonna take, if you want to comment, we'll take your comments.
I pay real estate taxes, I pay excise taxes. The people that come down here do not pay excise taxes because they don't live there. Their friends come and they go to, it's like Park and Fly, they go to Logan, they don't come back for a week. Call the police. That's all I can say. Either you uphold it or you don't. If you don't uphold it, it needs to be changed. Because this is, in plain English, bullshit.
Thank you.
I hope so.
Go ahead.
That's going to me.
Okay. Carol Gay, I live on Otis Street, which is a private way.
What's your name? Sorry.
Carol Gay, G-A-Y. Otis Street, it's a private way. Across the street from me, they all have parking. They have parking for 6 cars actually across the street. He dug right into his yard so they could all park there. We have people from Taft's Ave that come and park on Otis because they don't want to buy a sticker for their car. Or it's a snow removal and they want to get off the street so they come and park. So now we can't park. We come home and the street's full of cars. I called the police department, they said, well, we can't do anything. Well, you know what? I pay taxes just like everybody else. I don't get any discount for not using the police to ticket people, okay? I don't get any discount for not plowing. I had to deal with the plows for years ago, that we can't plow, it's a private way. I don't get any discount. My taxes are the same as yours, and yours, okay? And if I have a domestic problem, the police are gonna come respond. If I have a fire, the fire department's coming. If I have a parking problem, I need the police to come and respond. They say, oh, we can't do that. Well, something has to change, okay? Otherwise, I'm gonna make sure everybody that buys a house in Winthrop knows, don't buy on a private way because the police will not respond.
Thank you. And just for people making comments tonight, on some of the ordinances, we're going to meet regarding the ordinances and discuss the ordinances at length at a certain time. So if you talk to me after the meeting, I'll take your information and I'll ensure that when discussion on public ways and private ways of the such is heard, that we'll make sure you're at those meetings. Do you have another comment?
I just have one more comment.
Sure.
I have a disabled man on the corner that's disabled. That Took him 3 hours to shovel out his doorway just to get out the door. And the woman across the street came, and I had a private plow, come plow me, plow him. She came, jumped right in. She almost hit me with her car. I said, you can't park here on Taft Ave. She came through Taft Ave. She said, this is my parking space. I have this parking space. I don't know how she has that parking space. She doesn't live there. But anyway, he did get a response from the police department because he was disabled. I'm not disabled, so I'm screwed.
So, if you ladies have any suggestions of which, how we can make the ordinances that pertain to your issue better?
I'm telling
just-
you, one ticket would solve it. One ticket, when they get burned once, it would solve the problem.
And I don't want to take too much discussion back and forth on this, but we can only set the ordinances or suggest what an ordinance would be. The enforcement of the ordinances is beyond
Why
really
let
this
it
board's
fester? The
purview.
whole neighborhood is
Can I just add
festering.
one thing before I leave? It won't take more than 30 seconds. Last year, the fire department, I knew they couldn't get by, and I'm always nervous because we've got so many deaths up there. Anyway, I called the police department, they came, well, we don't see anything wrong. I called again, oh no, I said, send another cruiser, we don't see anything wrong. All right, fine, I'll call the fire department. Well, guess what, they came, and they couldn't get around the corner. They had back down the street. When I told the fire department, they said, well, they're not supposed to be up there. Really, I've been there 28 years, they come by every 3 months to check. That's it.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Any public comments? Yes.
You mind if I lean a little
Absolutely
bit?
not.
Go ahead, that's okay.
I'm Jean Maggio, precinct 4. The first thing I want to say to Mr. Chairman is, if there were 100 people here, I could see you limiting someone's discussion to 3 minutes. But looking at the participants, I think if people have something to say, it takes a little bit more than 3 minutes. I hope people will allow that. That's also something, and I don't know if this is officially in the charter, but when we have council meetings, we have a public comment in the beginning, we have a public comment at the end. But there are times when townspeople do attend and a certain subject comes up, they're not allowed to speak during that particular time. Now again, I'm not saying they should have a soapbox and an hour dissertation, but I think there should be, some allowances should be made that during a certain topic, if a citizen wants to speak on it, they shouldn't be limited to beginning and end. And if something happens in the middle, they're not allowed to make any comment on it. Again, I don't know if that's an official part of the charter, but I did want to bring that
I
up.
think that is part of the council's rules. I don't know. if it's part of the
You
charter.
have rules there, Jeannie. You have to write those rules.
But also as a point of information, during my term anyway, if the person wants to speak on a motion, if there's no objection by the council, it has been allowed.
Yes.
More than one.
And same with this committee, if someone wants to speak longer than 3 minutes, if the committee has no problem with it, we'll.
I'm not saying it's happening, that, and please, anything I say, don't take it personally.
No.
Okay? I thought I was gonna be the only one to say this, I figured I'd be written out of town on a rail, but since some of the correspondence that came in, I too firmly believe in term limits. I also feel that we should reduce the amount of councils. And because I know from experience, it doesn't matter what precinct you are a councilor of. If people in town know you, they can be from precinct 27. They're gonna talk to councilor in precinct 1 if they know them. So I think the councilors should all be councilors at large. And they should be able to respond to anyone, which they do now. I'm not saying that they don't do that now. But I don't think that we should be council specific to a precinct. So I think that was a very good recommendation that I believe was Mr. Martucci who made it. Okay? The second thing is that on the term limits, and again, not personal at all, but I feel it does make townspeople feel I can't run because the same person is going to run, and so why try to run because, you know, they're just automatically going to get in. And I think it discourages people from wanting to participate. So I feel the term limits are a good thing. And as it was recommended also, there's an awful lot of time spent by every counselor, the president and every counselor, the amount of time that they put in to go to meetings, to participate. I mean, they go to events, they go to different meetings from different organizations. They put in a tremendous amount of time that takes away from their family and their lives. And I feel that 8 years of their life is really a lot to commit to this town. And so I feel that 2 term limits really should be required. The other thing, as far as a stipend, absolutely. I would be willing to say that the amount of money that councils spend for their donations, for their, participating in things to support the town, they take a lot of money out of their own pocket to do this. And I feel that the town, because of the hours, et cetera, Gus is right, it's like a part-time job. Sometimes I think it's a full-time job. And I really feel that a stipend increase absolutely should be considered as part of the job description. One thing that came up tonight, which was a new thing to me, was in the declaring of an emergency. Working in emergency preparedness the way I do, my understanding is that if this town has to go into a state of emergency, if it's, when I say some kind of a physical emergency, a hurricane, a snowstorm, or whatever, it is the emergency management director that should have the authority to make that call. Nothing against the town manager, but that's the person in this community who is trained, who gets all the information, who knows what the procedures are, who knows what they have to close, what they have to open. So I feel that the declaration should come from the emergency management director. It can come from him through the town manager or the president, but it's that person who should make the declaration of emergency. Trying to think, all these things came up. I wasn't really prepared to speak on all of them. I sometimes feel that in the council, the way of the council is, the idea behind this originally was to have a town manager who runs the day-to-day operations of the building, of the community. And the council listens to his reports, gets reports on different things that happen from the town manager, and supposedly is not supposed to participate in the day-to-day operations. There's a fine line between what I would call participating in the day-to-day operations and what I feel that the council should have some authority over. Control is the wrong word, but to be able to perhaps see things in a different light, perhaps than, and this time the town manager, and then the town manager seeing different from the council. But there are times when I feel that there should be more authority granted to the town council. On just doing the charter right now?
We'll entertain this comments on either the charter or the ordinances.
Okay, so we vote. I saw Phil today and was discussing with him some of the ordinances that came up at the Board of Health meeting. And I think a process, I don't think a lot of the people who want to make ordinances or rules and regulations for their department, so to speak, or whatever, I don't know if there's a clear understanding of what the process is, and how to go about to make sure that if a board clears an authority or a rule, how do they get it other than going to the Rules and Ordinance Committee? An example, if I'm wandering a little bit because my brain is going in 1,000 directions. For example, the Board of Health technically has the authority to create their own rules and regulations. It has the authority to follow those through. Does the Council of Rules and Ordinance take precedence over what their rules and regulations are? Not by the state book, come on, Heather, you're going to correct me, but from the handbook, it states that the Board of Health has the authority to make these rules and regulations, and that they can follow through with this without the challenge of it being declared or being changed by the town council. So I think we need a big clarification on that, because I know it's one thing that's pending in front of the Board of Health. And Patty may not want to speak now, but I hope I'm saying this correctly or if I identify it correctly. If I'm allowed to speak later, I think that's all my brain's holding right now, but I might have more thoughts after other people speak.
And we will have other public forums before we begin our investigation into the town's ordinances. We will have at least one public forum to discuss ordinances after our report, the charter, or recommendations to the charter.
Are there more people on the ordinance committee this time? Because the last time we had it, I only remember about 3 or 4 people.
There was 9 by the charter, 9, and there was 9 last time.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Council.
I didn't have a lot of thoughts on it, but a couple of things I did. I personally don't think that we should go away from precinct councils, because I think one of the reasons that I was able to get into the town politics is the fact that I didn't have to be a politician. I didn't have to have a town-wide campaign going. I was able to work through the people I knew in my neighborhood that trusted me, and I think that would have moved forward to try a town-wide election. And I think it would be quite daunting for especially newer people who come into the town that may not feel they have a wide scope of friends and relationships to call on, even for people who've been around for a long period of time. I think being able to navigate your own neighborhood certainly allows you to go into that. I personally, I don't think we should be also creating tiers of paid municipal elected officials. The term limits should be the fact that you're working hard at it and you don't want to do it anymore for no money. And I think it's also difficult to have one group of elected officials who are paid and another group who aren't. And I know that the school committee people are all done as town-wide. So if they, feel that there's a reason for them going down to 5, I think on the counselor side, that would be a difficult thing to prevent people from joining into the process. And one of the things we should be doing is increasing the amount of people who come into the process, not trying to decrease it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, can I just ask a question? Just that, why did you wait so long to bring this up?
Because we keep getting told that the police just can't come to us. So now we've got no parking
I'm
signs.
happy to talk to you afterwards.
With
Sorry.
Let's just have no more discussion unless it's on the committee. It's okay.
Horrible.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to be heard?
I guess I'll say a few words. Phil Boncory, Councilor at Large, a former member of the Charter Commission and President of the Rules and Ordinance Committee. I would like to thank all of you for your participation in this commission, because this commission is a very important commission, because you get to look at everything we've done for the past 5 years and what we did 10 years ago when we wrote the charter and correct it if it's wrong. And I asked you to look at it in that aspect, and correcting it if it's wrong. If it's not wrong, don't mess with it. But there are some things, as one of the originators that was on the Charter Commission, that I think we should look at. And I don't think we should change the number of councils, because I think that it's important that we have precinct councilors. And if we have precinct councilors that represent an individual neighborhood and district, and we have 6 of them, to take away one of the at-large councilors changes the number, and we should keep an odd number for all times on all of our commissions, so that we don't run into this situation where we have votes that are tie votes that don't break. We need to have an odd number of people on every committee. I think some of the things that were brought up were correct. I think the councils, and I shouldn't be saying that for myself, but I think when we wrote the charter, we didn't put the correct stipend on what the council was made. And I think we didn't put the correct stipend on what the council has made because we didn't want to lose the initial charter vote. I think there were a few things that we looked at when we were writing the charter, and one of the things we debated over for a long time is whether we should have the strong town manager or whether we should have a mayor. And we voted not to go with a mayor because we didn't want to completely come up at the beginning and say, we're not a town anymore, we're a city. Even though we're now known as the city known as the town of Winthrop, we really have a city form of government. At the time we fought and put that charter forward, we didn't want to go straight to a mayor. And the reason we didn't go straight to a mayor is because we thought it would be too much to put to the people of Winthrop to get an approval to change our form of government away from town meeting. But it might be something that you should look at this point as to whether or not we should have a mayor and a strong mayor running the town of Winthrop rather than a weak council president and a strong town manager. But that's pointed to me. That's a very weak town manager. He has been an excellent council president. But that's the type of form of government, of course, I'm talking about, not in any kind of individual. So please look at that. Look at the fact that I think if you look in the Globe about 6 months ago, they had a whole situation and they put down the salaries of every town, city council, of the whole state. Winthrop wasn't even on the chart because we were so low at 2,500. It's not like I'm looking for a raise for myself, but we were just not even on the chart when the Globe published. I think the lowest one they published was about 3,500. And we were so far below that. The councils that I've worked with, and I've worked with all of them over 10 years, they're fantastic. They all do a great job. They all do extra work. They all go to committee meetings. They run not only their own committee meetings, many of them go to all the committee meetings, and they work at this job. They work talking to the neighbors, finding out what's going on when an issue is coming up before us, like the houseboat commission. Councils go down, they look at the situation, they talk to the people. When we had the 60 Herman Street, councils all went down, they looked at the area, they mapped out the area. These people put in a lot of extra work, and they're doing it because they love the town of Winthrop. And I think the town of Winthrop should remunerate them for that. As far as term limits, I'm running for re-election, which I shouldn't say on TV, but I'm against term limits. I think if someone is dedicated and wants to keep working for the town, you should be allowed to keep working for the town, as long as they're, still have the capabilities. And I hope you don't put on term limits. I hope you do remunerate the councilors, and I hope that you do look at all the laws that we've passed over the past 5 years. I say the past 10 years, even though you looked at them 5 years ago, you should look at them again. I talked to Chidi today, she said we bumped into each other today and we talked. There were a bunch of bylaws that we passed for the Board of Health, which were about animals restrictions and so on. But at the time, we had a lot of changes where we didn't have a clerk of the council, and we lost a clerk of the council, we had a new one, we lost one. A couple of meetings, even Jim McKenna was serving as the council clerk. Some of those ordinances did not get on to the website. And as she said, she looked for the ones we know we passed back in 2010 that did not get on the website. I'd ask that you look at those things and make sure that they're corrected and that we get the right ordinances on that town website, so people know exactly what the laws are in the state of Massachusetts. And town of Winthrop, town of Massachusetts, that was crazy.
Thank you. I've heard from people who haven't heard from yet, and then we'll go back around and have additional comments. But Council President.
Thank you. I just wanted to say I had to thank each one of you individually when I appointed you, like Council Corey mentioned. I wanted to thank you publicly as well. As far as the issues of that we talked about, compensation, I believe, and I can't code where it is. I believe there is a provision in the charter where the councilors can increase the salary given there's a certain mechanism for it. And when you talk salary, I'll throw a little joke in here. That I had talked to somebody recently from out of town, and they said, do the councilors get paid? And I said, yes, the councilors get 25, and the council president gets 52. And the person's comment was, you mean you put up with all that baloney for $52,000 a year? And I said, and by the way, I had a baby that I did on purpose. As far as the number of councilors, and I agree with Councilor Boncory that it should not be an odd number. I mean, it should not be an even number. But one of the ways, if as Councilor Mayle said, that he believes in precinct councilors, we could have 6 precinct councilors and the council president, which would be 7, which would still be an uneven number. So therefore, you would have the possibility of ties all the time if all of the members were present. So I think that that's something, whether it's council, whether it's precinct councilors, 6 of them with the president, or all at-large councilors, I think that I believe too that it's not a bad idea to reduce the number. So just on those term limits, I really have to kind of agree with Councilor Corey that term limits, there's pluses and minuses. So that's my input.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Bob Driscoll, Precinct 5, and I just stand to express that, I think reducing the size of the council, if you think about it historically, we went from a town meeting system to a council system. So in the town meeting system, we had probably almost 200 people representing the neighborhoods. And so in this new structure, we have a system where there's representation at a much lower level. And I think to reduce that further would really not be appropriate. It's almost contrary to representative government. There's not some kind of a representative in each precinct, representing folks. So I just stand to say I think the council should not be reduced in size.
Thank you. Anyone else who hasn't been heard from?
So, Council Boncory and I will probably go back on this for the next year and a half. But, I think statistics alone show the benefit of having a strong town manager. We don't have a town, we have a close to $50 million business. And to think that somebody in a town of $20,000 is going to walk out of the woods with the requisite skills to run the town as effectively as a strong town manager would, I think is a little bit too much to believe. Now, it doesn't mean that there aren't good town managers who have come from Winthrop. But the fact is, you would have to be a good town manager, which is a skill set unto itself, and then you would have to be a good politician at the same time. And I'm not saying that those two skills can't be molded together, but I don't think it's the best thing. If you're talking about a city like Boston with several 100,000 people and a great pool of talent, I can see where you could possibly get that. But to think year after year after year that we would be able to find an elected official that could walk out of the blue and run a $50 million multifaceted business, a business that has operational elements, human service elements, security elements. I think it's a skill set that just doesn't come about because you were lucky enough to get the most amount of votes. So my own feeling is that we should look for the best person, and that will give us the best results. And those results have been effective over the last couple of years in raising every one of our capital funds to one of the highest levels. And we are slowly but surely reaching the level of financial security which we haven't seen in the 60 years that I have been in this town. And I attribute it all to a good, solid, professional executive department. And I would hope that the group would come through and consider that as part of their thought.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else who hasn't been heard from yet that wants to be heard from? Council President?
The Councilor Mayle, I have to agree with. And I forgot to mention, I'm very comfortable with the town manager form of government. I think that we've had a very effective administration of the town. Mr. McKenna has done a wonderful job. But I think there's another piece of it that's very important and that's been very comfortable for me, is is direct involvement with the staff, direct involvement of hiring, firing, of disciplining staff. Does not then become a political issue? I would hope that I would not have had it become a political issue. But I believe it could be something that's a slippery slope if the councilors are involved in the daily hiring, firing, disciplining, and daily contact, supervision contact with the town employees. So I found the town manager form of government and the strength of the town manager and the responsibilities of the town manager to be very effective. And again, it takes the political piece out of it where one may be influenced to move in one direction as opposed to the other. So I think it's been very good.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to be here from tonight?
Any board members that would like to be heard from? We'll start from the right.
Anyone want to address any issues?
Just other towns per capita, comparative to Winthrop, how many council members do they have? So is it one council member per 2,000, 3,000, 5,000? Is there a standard rule, or is there a commonality amongst the towns for like a per capita representation of councils? So we have roughly 20,000 citizens in the town of Winthrop, and we have 9 council members, so that's roughly 2,250 citizens per council member. Are we in the norm on that, or?
Yeah.
I don't believe that there is a rule of thumb. I think it's quite variable. And you probably recall in town meeting days and representative town meetings, those are very variable. There's no perfect way to do it. Different towns have different communities. And so, again, using the town meeting by way of analogy, sometimes you have 200 reps and others you have 100. It doesn't have much to do with the size of the town. It's really a matter of local choice of what works for them.
David, would
You want me to be recognized by the chair?
sorry. Would the president, may I be recognized?
Chair, no, go ahead.
David, when we had our town meeting form of government, we had a representative town meeting form of government where people were elected from a precinct to be a member of town meeting. And we had probably a little bit more than 200 members. Some towns have an open town meeting where any citizen that's a registered voter in the town can go to. When we looked at writing the charter, we looked at cities and towns all over Massachusetts. We had someone that was helping us do it that was an expert in doing that. But we looked at a lot of the different ones. Some of them had, I think, 16, 17, charter members. We came to a conclusion that we felt that there should be one from each precinct, which we had 6 and then 2 at large. If you look at Boston, there's many, many more because there's so many at large, plus all those different precincts. So Boston has a huge city council. I think when we looked at Watertown and Waltham, they were both much larger than us in the number of representatives they had. But we thought if we, one for each precinct and 2 at large that would represent the whole town, plus the council president, we came to a 9 number, which was an odd number, and it was going to fit Winthrop. And that's what we attempted to do. At the time, we had about 18,000 people in Winthrop, and then 9 members meant it was 1 councilor for every 2,000 people. We thought it was a pretty good number. I mean, that's how we came to that conclusion when we were writing the charter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I got obviously a lot of thoughts about much of the comment that went on here tonight, but I don't think it's time for the committee to begin our deliberations over all of the matters that come before us. One lesson I think that we learned on the Charter Commission, which is appropriate here, is that when you go through this process, just keep an open mind and listen to what everybody has to say. There's no absolute right answer on how to do these things, on how to put a charter together. It's sort of what's the community comfortable with? What's the best process that you believe works? But we had a debate that Phil referenced over whether or not councilors would be elected at large or by precincts, and we came up with the conclusion and put the thing together as it is. But it was after a lot of discussion and so forth. But I think we have to listen to other people's points of view. Nobody's right or wrong on these kinds of things. And if we listen to and keep an open mind to suggestions that everybody raises and so forth, we'll be in a position to do this job more effectively.
Thank you. Ms. Chavez, any comments?
Just that I've appreciated all the comments that were made tonight. And, I mean, I have my own thoughts, but you certainly have given me cause maybe to rethink some of my thoughts.
Council Brown?
I would like to say that I'm in agreement with much of what Mr. Riley has said, and I think this is a perfect opportunity and forum for members of the public to reach out to the committee or their council members and have your voice heard and let us know what you think.
Mr. Deeb?
I have no comments at this time, but I wanted to thank everyone for their comments about here today.
Second?
I really appreciated the comments tonight too. I am curious what the arguments would be in favor of reducing the number of town councilors. Anyone here who is in favor of that? I'm interested in what the arguments would be for reducing the number of town councilors from 9 to 7 or 5. What would be the rationale?
I don't know, if anyone here spoke in favor of that, I think that was through Mr. Martucci's correspondence, but I don't think anyone here spoke in favor of reducing the number. Oh, it's not Charles, I apologize.
Yeah. So if I understand, you're asking what you think my rationale is in that? Again, I understand the argument, being a precinct counselor myself, I understand that the belief is that people in the precinct know you rather than the entire town knowing one person. But I think that's different. I think that being an at-large person gives you the opportunity to have more people talk to you, it's not just centered around your precinct and what's going on in your precinct, but if we're looking at it for the entire community, it's being representative of at large, people from all over town are going to reach out to you, not just one individual section. I do understand the argument for precincts as well. I just think that people from all over town will have a better opportunity to reach out to whichever counselor at large that they feel comfortable reaching out to, rather than just saying it's my precinct counselor. Not that it's the only one they can reach out to, but I think you understand what I'm trying to make.
Thank you. First, I want to make a little interesting comment, and I thought having sat on this board the third time, nobody wrote or commented or came and talked about how much they want the town meeting net, which I think is a nice sign that people have seen after 10 years that the system has worked and it's been efficient, and the thought of bringing back the Board of Selectmen, the warrant committee, and all this kind of stuff sounds so daunting that I can't imagine anyone wanting it, but I think it's a nice positive move forward. I also think it's important for anybody who reads about this or watches this later to know that this public comment session is just the beginning of comments, and that people should feel throughout the town they have the right to address any of us. There have been, I know there's been some snafus with email accounts in the last week or so, but each one of us has an email account. There's a general email account for the organization, and people should feel free to write and send their comments and thoughts to us. It's a long process. Not forever, but a long process. Thanks.
Thank you.
No, I don't really have any comments. I think that I just agree with everything that everyone has said. But especially what Michael's saying, that we have plenty of time, and if people are watching or reading at home and they don't want to come or can't make a meeting, definitely get it to us in any way. You can visit us in town hall during the day. It's important to get your thoughts across to us any way you can, so that we can deliberate over it.
there's no objection from the board, from the committee, yes.
We used to, when a certain situation came up, sometimes the precinct councilors would hold precinct meetings when it affected their precincts. Perhaps if we go back, if the precinct council holds, that one of the requirements of precinct councilors is at least twice a year, they should hold precinct meetings. And so that they get, I mean, 3 people may come, it's happened before, but the idea is that precinct councilor at least is reaching out to his precinct to hear what they have to say. And maybe that will start to encourage more people to come out, because it's true. A lot of people don't read in the paper, some people don't look at the websites, whether or not everybody in the world is on Facebook, I don't know. But the point is that a lot of times we don't get the information out there. And then sometimes the citizens are surprised by something that happens because they didn't know about it, so, or claim they didn't know about it. So maybe having a requirement of at least 2 precinct meetings a year by each precinct councilor might be a good idea.
Thank you. I was just gonna say, I think our government works well now. I think the way we're doing it now, it's working very well. And we've progressed over the past 10 years, and that we're reaching a great point in the town of Winthrop. Everything is going well, so we shouldn't mess with it too much. But I was gonna, Jeannie corrected herself, I don't think we should have all that large members because we should have those precinct meetings like Council Barone has had over an issue that was in his precinct with the Herman Street development. He's had a precinct meeting for it. If it was all that large, who was gonna do it? He had 5 meetings, okay. Who was gonna do it? Which at-large member was gonna do it? If they were all from Point Shirley, probably wouldn't happen. We have an issue going now that Precinct 5 is going to have a precinct meeting over an issue in Precinct 5 with a development. And the precinct council is running that meeting. Who would have done it if we had all at-large people that were from Precinct 1? You need the precinct councils. I don't think you should mess with that. Anything else you do, you know, will be appreciated, and of course it will come to the voters. But please, don't try to change too much because we're doing very well. I think we're doing very, very well.
Anyone else from the board?
One small comment.
No.
Yeah, but just one thing to think of, I've seen this happen from time to time. You know, this committee has before it both possible changes to the charter and to the ordinances. And I think sometimes this can be a tendency, and I'm not saying this group, but I've seen sometimes amendments made to a charter that would have been better dealt with in an ordinance, because ordinances can be changed, and can be modified to suit circumstances. A charter is not an easy boat to turn around. And so I just would caution you to be careful while putting anything into a charter that could be done by a bylaw. This is substantial overlap. When you read the charter, you see many things in there that could have been done by an ordinance, and it's fine that they're in the charter, but that would just be my word of caution for you, so that if you need to have a course correction, it's a lot easier to go to the council and say, let's change this ordinance.
Thank you very much for your comments. Again, I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight. One matter of business we need to, is the next meeting of this group. What was the date?
26th.
Okay, sorry. May 26th will be the next meeting of this group. We're going to try to get on the schedule of the second and fourth Tuesday of every month. So our next meeting will be May 26th at the Joseph Harvey Room, and that will be posted with the open meeting law requirements, just so the board members do know. And like Council Power, Mr. Power alluded to, this is just the beginning. Every meeting that we have here on out, we'll have a public comment section, and we appreciate and we hope that the public will come out and make such comments, because this is the vehicle for the townspeople to make any changes this board at our last meeting, really, we did pledge that any suggestion made, whether it be from a townsperson or a councilor, a department head, or even an anonymous person, because you can make comments anonymously, that will be vetted at these meetings at the appropriate time. So we encourage comments, we encourage change, and we look forward to seeing this process through. This time I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Any second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. So ordered. Thanks very much, Nate.